Hi, my name's Justin O'Connor. I'm from Adelaide University, although I'm speaking to you from Melbourne. And happy to speak to your meeting up there in Scotland on cultural rights, which is a really important meeting, and I hope it goes well. And I'm sorry I can't be there in person. I wanted to share some thoughts from my latest book, actually, which Culture is Not an Industry. And I argued there that culture, although there's many industries, many commercial interests in culture, culture itself is not an industry. It's part of the social foundations alongside health, education, social services, and basic infrastructure. And the pursuit over the last 40 years by the cultural sector of, culture as economic growth or as employment or innovation, all those things have actually done a lot of damage to culture and have not actually got it anywhere. Funding's being cut, conditions of work are declining, and it's in a very bad place. It's finding it really difficult to articulate its core value. So I wanted to say, yes, culture should be there at the social foundations, at the level of the basic provision that's essential for a common, decent society. And so many people might say, well, is culture a basic need? Is TikTok a basic need? Is fast fashion a basic need? Is 300,000 hours of Netflix series locked in a water guzzling data center somewhere in Arizona? Is that a basic need? Well, of course not. Uh, what I would start at a more fundamental level than that. Um, Culture, some kind of involvement in it, symbolic culture is coterminous with human existence. Here in Australia, 65,000 years ago, elaborate carvings on the rocks. You've seen the paintings in Spain and France and those other things. So it's part of who we are. Humans are driven not by instinct, fixed forms of behavior, but by culture. We learn, we change the world, we learn, we pass that on. We have to instruct the next generation as we go. And so culture is about understanding the world symbolically, um, and being able to change it and understand our place in it, the direction we're traveling through it, and in that way, imagine a future. And so culture, at its most fundamental level, is about human freedom. And so when we hear about Article 27.1, it's not just about the right to go to the opera or whatever, nothing against opera, of course, but it's about the right to fully exercise human freedom, to be able to fully participate in the cultural life of the community. And that's its essential basis. It's part of our ability to make choices, to choose a life that we have reason to value, as Amartya Sen has it. And it's actually our ability to participate in the democratic negotiation, contestation, elaboration of our common culture. That's its value at its most basic level. We don't have authority that's inherited or some God-given kind of hierarchical authority anymore. It's all up for grabs, and that's why it has to be part of a democratic control rather than say some kind of corporate control up at the top. So cultural rights to me is not just about some right to individual expression or individual identity. I mean, they're part of it, if you like. More fundamentally, it's a right of, as I say, everybody to fully participate in the life of the community. But we have to recognize that those rights to participate come out of a political struggle. They come out of a long history of it. The classic progression from civic rights, habeas corpus, through to political rights, the right to participate in the political process in some way across the 19th century, and the socio-economic rights of probably, post 1945. And more recently, I think very importantly and often forgotten, cultural citizenship that was really established in the 60s and 70s. All of these came out of real struggle. We had to fight for those rights. And as we all know, they're being eroded precisely by a political struggle perhaps coming the other way. So cultural rights is important, but we've got to recognize where it comes from. And we've got to give, especially cultural rights, a substantive kind of basis They're there as part of our collective democratic life and the rights of people to participate fully in that. And we need to think about this as we're facing some really big challenges. The challenge from AI, which is rollicking down the tracks at a rate of knots, about to bowl everybody over. You know, a real response to AA has to be about our cultural life and what it's doing to it. And we also have to respond to the intense commercialization of much of our culture, where, you know, 6 out of the 10 largest corporations on the planet are involved in the production and distribution of culture. And they're in everybody's ears, iPods and iPads, on the screens, they're everywhere. So this is really crucial. So participation in culture involves those things as well. And I think what without that kind of sense of a collective culture, we're losing the civic scaffolding. We're losing the material and resource basis for a participation in culture. And you've got to remember that yes, everybody has the right to participate in culture, in the cultural life of the community, but there has to be a cultural life of the community to participate in. So I would say, just most generally, um, I'm not a lawyer, and there's many legal minds there, but cultural rights, keep it simple, keep it foundational. The right to a full participation in the cultural life of the communities, that requires resources, for real resources, educational, of course, but other resources of space and facilities and specialist institutions, that we need to have a functioning cultural life in which the community can participate. And that without this, um, our democratic life will be eroded and made significantly worse. So, yeah, on that note, I wish you good luck for the rest of the day. Thank you.